for sure there's a new generation of women cyclists from Canada. Like, I think the level is really high and is going to continue to improve. Like, we have so many strong U23 riders, but I think that all of us are really hungry and wanting to make that step and to be the best in the world. And so I think that women cycling in Canada, like, I think it will continue to grow, and I think we're going to continue to be a presence on the world stage. And I think we'll all just push each other to be better and better.
Welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast. I'm Matthew Pioro, and this episode, web editor Matt Hansen is away. But guess who's back? Jake Williams. Welcome, Jake.
Thank you so much for having me back. And sad to miss other Matt. I think he's off on assignment somewhere in the depths of Europe. Is he not?
I barely can keep track of his schedule, but he will be back very soon. On this episode, the feature interview is with Emilly Johnston. This is the cross-country rider from BC. She has a new team this year. It's the powerhouse squad Scott-SRAM MTB Racing. It's the home of Nino, Schurter and Filippo, Colombo. Emilly has already had some successes this season, and we're going to get into all that in that interview in just a moment. But first, Jake, there is a lot of racing to cover. I want to look back just briefly at what's been going on the road and in cross country, and then we'll look ahead to some races that are just around the corner, including your favorite spring classic, Gent-Wevelgem.
Love it.
And also maybe the dumbest race, or the race with the dumbest PR, that would be E3. But let's go back to Milan-San Remo. Holy jumping, both races were amazing. The women's edition, which is the first edition since 2005's Primavera Rosa, it was a nail-biter right to the end. What did you think of it, Jake?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I mean, lots of action on the Cipressa and then on the Poggio. It really came down, though, to what I was really hoping for, which was an Elisa Longo Borghini Tricolore Italian champions across the line. That would have been incredible. But as we all know, watching Lotte Kopecky march that group into contention was just fantastic to watch. And just, I thought her performance was the strongest, just waiting in the wings until launching. What did you think?
Yeah, also, I felt the same way because you had that drama of Elisa Longo Borghini going and you're like, can she, will she do it? But then that was a monster ride from Lotte Kopecky for her teammate Lorena Wiebes, who sealed the deal. And then, wow, Marianne Vos there in second. And Noemi Rug also had in third place, but that was a pretty amazing performance there too.
Just absolutely unreal. Just the way that race finishes after the descent, it can really lead to some intrigue. And part of me was like, really considering if Elisa had waited a little longer, could it have been the move? She went with 4 kilometers to go and it stuck until like less than 2. It was so there.
Actually, it's funny you should say that because I was watching it back, and if you watch the counter, the kilometers to go counter, Borghini launches and the number reads 3.9. Then like a second or a half a second later, it goes down to 2.2, then 1.9. It's like somebody was trying to figure it out on the fly.
We must have been watching the same highlight because I thought they just cut to maybe. So that was a glitch. Did she attack with 2K or did she attack with 4K?
I think it was closer to 2 clicks. I think that's what it was, but it was funny to watch that.
Well, hey, it's still fantastic and still great that we can, have all these recap videos. What did you think of the drone work?
It was cool. It was fun. Yeah, it was a great angle to have. And I guess I'm always worried about drones. I'm like, there's a reason they're coming in behind the group. But I'm always just like, I don't want that to come crashing down.
I guess it's safer than a motorcycle trying to keep up with these riders, or at least not getting in the way.
Oh, it's true.
I mean, I think it's challenging to get those shots, but my goodness, like it does give you that sense of speed that sometimes a motorcycle doesn't.
Yeah, and I don't think a drone can help anybody get a draft or anything like that. I think the drone is a pretty neutral object.
But like a drone could like it could like hand a gel or like a bottle. Could you hang a bottle off a drone?
Oh
That'd
my
be great.
gosh. That's the future of drone work in cycling. Yeah, getting gels and, oh my gosh, putting all these Swannies are going to have to become drone operators. That's what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's gonna take the humans' jobs, and they're gonna have to be wearing little Swanee vests as well. They're gonna put little team vests on the drones, and it'll be so cute.
On to the men's race. Possibly one of the most exciting Milan-San Remo's, in recent memory. We can't say forever because there's been a few of them. Hard to know if it's the best one ever, but holy cow. So after I made breakfast, did 2 loads of laundry, caught up on some back taxes and flew to Vancouver, the race was really on. But with the real action, I guess we'll call it the real action, bottom of the run into the Cipressa, Tadej Pogačar seemed to me, he looked out of position. Well, when you have Tim Wellens hauling at the front, looking back, yeah, Pogačar was back a bit.
Yeah, and then I mean after they all go, the 3 of them, Ghana's looking like me on a Fast Friday ride, just hanging on for dear life, trying desperately to stay in contention, which he did very impressively. I thought he was gone about 5 or 6 different times.
Yeah, he was just smart. He rode his tempo up those climbs, and yeah, when he came back with we forgot to add Mathieu van der Poel was in that mix, and then Pogačar doing attack after attack on the final climb on the Poggio. But as soon as Ghana makes contact with the Pogačar and Mathieu van der Poel, it's just like, oh my God, this race, the dimensions here, and that was so exciting in the final sprint.
It was amazing. And kudos for, also just that descent is just hairy. I don't think we give it enough credit. I was actually in San Remo a couple years ago, and we walked around and got a lay of the land, and the town is cute, and that road is very narrow. So that's all I gotta say. Yikes. No thanks.
No, it is so technical, that descent. It is just amazing watching them fly down. Back to the women's race, it was pretty awesome watching Puck Peters cut some corners on people. It was sort of cyclocross styles.
Exactly. Yeah. The tire pressure is a little higher, I'd hope, but maybe not by much. I don't know.
Okay, now we should switch to cross-country racing. There was a lot of racing in Fayetteville in the U.S., lots of Canucks there. Raphael Carrier has got her mountain bike season started. She took a break after racing Cyclocross Worlds, but she's back to the mountain bikes. She won everything. There was a C1, a short track, and an HC race. And so she's looking really good ahead of the Pan Am Cross Country Championships. Also winning the HC race was Marin Lowe in the under-23. Maxime Saint-Onge, he won in the men's under-23. And that's also Raf's teammate on Pivot OTE. Over in women's elite, Jen Jackson won the cross-country event. Jen Jackson afterwards in an interview said she's pretty happy with the way the racing went, especially her tactics in the short track. She felt nuked, that's her word, nuked after that weekend of racing, but she's feeling pretty confident ahead of the World Cup in Brazil.
Yeah, very exciting. Jen, her first year on a new team. I guess her old team is now supporting Marin Lowe, who also had a great race. So yeah, great day for Canadians. And Jen Jackson, she deserves all the credit because she's been working super hard the past few years. And it's really exciting to watch her win in that sprint against Kate Courtney, and the two of them just collapsing after that was pretty exciting. It just goes to show you how much effort goes into those cross-country races.
Over in Italy, not in Milan-San Remo, but Emilly Johnston was riding in the mud, and she took her second win of the year. This race in Italy was called the Argentario. I guess it rhymes with Ontario. Argentario. Is that like the silver Ontario? And it's part of a mountain bike race series in Italy. She said after the race, my strategy today was to stay at the front of the start because the course was slippery. I was able to set my own pace and it went really well. It was a fun race on a very technical course, and I'm really happy to have won. She got this victory after the feature interview we hear today was recorded before that, but she was in Italy getting prepared for that event.
Have you ever been on the start of a race and just be like, you know what, my strategy is just going to be at the front. That's the plan. Just that's always a good strategy, right?
It's a good strategy if you've got the legs to back it up. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, she hasn't just been knitting. I'll just say that.
You're getting ahead of us. Yes, that's we get into hobbies in the feature interview, and yeah, knitting's one of them. Okay, now back to the road. We're gonna look ahead to some races. Just after this podcast is coming out is E3, and I mentioned that race begrudgingly because its own PR machine has ruined that race for me. They bug the tar out of me with their sexist promos and horrible cartoons. They're tasteless, but there's going to be some notable riders there. Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel.
Go figure. I'd rather go to Ghent,
Well, we'll get on to that. I know that's your favorite race, which you've secretly won. But before I'll just say this one more thing about E3. They did come out with some cartoons recently, and between Matt Hansen and I, Google Translate, and the help of a Dutch speaker, we found that these cartoons were just not that good. We couldn't find anything outwardly offensive about it. So either E3 has turned it down, or they've made things so subtle that you need to be a very advanced Flemish speaker to detect any unsavory things that they might be saying.
You think it's like that comedian that everyone hates, and they're always like, oh, you can't be funny anymore. And it's like, no, you can be funny. It just has to be good.
I don't know. I don't worry. I guess I've already given it more attention than it deserves, I think. So moving on to Ghent Wevelgem. As I was saying, you've secretly won this race because you are Luca Paolini's Canadian twin, I guess.
Exactly. I'm his innie to his outie, to those watching Severance. Won the 2015 edition in what may have been some of the scariest wind I've ever watched, with multiple riders getting blown off their bikes. Now, fast forwarding to this year, 10 years later. Wow, we're really aging ourselves around here. But I'm hoping for the same conditions. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think makes a really good Ghent Wevelgem?
Yeah, wins will do it. It makes it challenging for the sprinters. Yeah, I guess we do. Watching from afar, we want to see echelons and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Ghent Wevelgem it's an interesting one. It doesn't start in Ghent. It's another one of those races that doesn't start where it says it does. It starts in Ypres, Ypres.
As the kids call it, Ypres.
I think the British called it that during the First World War. Most people will remember Ypres from their high school history class, especially the Second Battle, where Canadian soldiers faced poison gas. That reference back to the First World War, this race definitely acknowledges, the history of the landscape that it goes through.
Yeah, I think in 2016 they added In Flanders Fields to the name of the race, I believe.
Mm-hmm. So we've got history, we've got cobbles, we've got climbs, and there are plug streets, which, as far as I know, is Flemish for gravel. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting parkour, and its sort of signature climb is the Kemmelberg, about 40 kilometers from the finish.
Yeah, the plug streets separated the field quite a bit last year, with Mads narrowly beating out Mathieu van der Poel. And at the time, they were saying, "Is he done?" Clearly not. But if you look at the start list this year, it's many hitters. So I can't wait to see what happens. I'm curious to know whether it'll come down to a small 2-up sprint like last year, or if there's going to be a bigger bunch.
It seems, or from the lists I've been seeing, neither Mathieu van der Poel nor Wout van Aert will be there. Instead, it'll be their team's respective sprinters. So Van der Poel's colleague, Jasper Philipsen, and Olaf Koy from Wout van Aert's team. Also lining up, looks like Biniam Girmay, the winner in 2022. Tim Merlier should be there, as well as Michael Matthews, who was looking good at Milan-San Remo. He would have won. He was in fourth, but he would have won if it weren't for those other three guys who got away.
True. Yeah, exactly.
There's also the women's Ghent Wevelgem. I was looking at the numbers. Its distance is 169.1 kilometers. That's roughly 7 kilometers longer than Milan-San Remo. So again, it's a mystery how these races are, what they're allowed to do in terms of distance. But there you go. That looks like one of the longest women's races on the calendar.
Yeah, and it seems like Lorena's pretty primed to go back to back after winning at Milan-San Remo.
Yes, Lorena Wiebes is returning following her Milan-San Remo win and winning this race last year. Maggie Coles-Lister was 10th last year, and she's returning, so that's exciting. And I just should note that Sarah Van Dam should be at Gent-Wevelgem. She raced Milan-San Remo, finished 25th, which ain't too shabby, and she was at Trofea Alfredo Binda. This is following a broken collarbone that she suffered in January. She got hit by a side mirror while doing a training ride in Adelaide, Australia. So it's good to see Sarah Van Dam back. Okay, let's talk about Emilly Johnston. As I mentioned before, she is a rider from BC. She has been racing since probably about the age of maybe 9 or 10. She came up on Vancouver Island. There's a very healthy mountain bike scene there that we're going to get into in this interview. And yeah, she's got a big name team this year, which is fantastic. It shows that the team has confidence in her, and so that's exciting. And yeah, we'll cover all sorts of facets of her career in this interview, including some of her influences. Now, Jake, don't ruin it, but one of those influences is an innovative BC bike builder, and listeners, you'll find out about that. Other topics that we get into, of course, are stuff like the state of Canadian cross-country racing. Actually, Emily rhymes off a bunch of top riders really quickly, and I will say their names here because, you know, Emily's on a first-name basis with them. But she mentions Jen Jackson, who we've spoken about already, Ella McPhee, Marin Lowe, Raphael Carrier, and Isabella and Ava Holmgren, so they come up in the discussion. We also talk about doing tricks on the bike, even in high-stakes races, and as Jake alluded to, there was the knitting, and there's also a lot of other cool hobbies that Emilly Johnston does. So without further ado, let's hear the feature interview with Emilly Johnston. Emilly Johnston, welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast. The 2025 season marks your first year as an elite rider. You've graduated from the under-23 ranks. During that time, you landed on the World Championship podium, third in XCO in Andorra last year. You also won the World Cup short track race at Crans-Montana, Switzerland, also last year. But 2025, this marks your first season on your current team, which is Scott-SRAM MTB Racing. This is also the team of Nino Schurter. How has it been coming on board the new team?
Oh, it's been incredible. It's really just been a dream come true, to be honest.
Earlier this year, you had a training camp in South Africa. Had you ever ridden there before?
No, this was my first year riding in South Africa, and the trails there are like super incredible, and it's just, yeah, endless riding. It was awesome.
During that time in and around the team camp, you won the Western Cape XCO Cup. What was that race like?
Oh, it was honestly just a good season opener to start off with. It was just a local event and fun to try. It was hot for sure. I guess hot would be a way to describe it.
I want to go from South Africa to your home in the Comox Valley on Vancouver Island. In a recent feature in Canadian Cycling Magazine, you said to writer Jeff Bartlett, and I quote, "Riding in Cumberland is harder than any World Cup XC course, so that is a huge advantage. I can go to any World Cup course and I will never be intimidated." End quote. Can you tell me more about how the landscape of your home region shaped you as a rider?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, I wouldn't say never be intimidated. There's always like some scary features. I should backtrack on myself there. But yeah, being able to ride Cumberland and just BC in general, like when you grow up going to Whistler and Squamish every summer for a couple months, and there's no better place to ride in the whole world, in my opinion. It just makes it you're really grateful to be able to transfer my skills from home to World Cup courses, and it just gives you a lot of confidence when you can go to a feature and be like, oh, for sure I've ridden harder stuff than this at home, even if it's a bit intimidating.
Staying on Vancouver Island, that area has such a strong cycling community. I'm thinking of things like the Island Cup Series and Cross on the Rock. What has been the role of the riding community there on your career as a rider?
I mean, I think for sure community is 100% what got me to love the sport, and in turn, like, loving the sport is what got me here. Like, you go out and ride and race, and to have people cheering you on and just everyone being supportive and stoked, and just having so many people who just love to ride bikes. It's what makes you fall in love with the sport, is to be able to go and push yourself to your limits and do the coolest thing ever with the nicest group of people. So it's just always amazing if I get home, to see those people and see the community and get to go to those races again, because yeah, I mean, everyone just wants to have fun and ride bikes, and it's the best thing.
Now let's go back to your 2024 season. Tell me about your ride in the XCO event at the World Championships. You got that third place. What did that mean for you?
I mean, it was really massive because I'd been consistent the whole year. So just to keep that rolling for Worlds was like huge. And getting a medal at Worlds had been a massive goal of mine. I mean, the year before I was fourth in the cross country and fourth in the team relay. And the day before, or 2 days before, I was fourth in the short track. So I was like, I really, I really don't want to be fourth anymore, to be honest. Fourth is great, but I was really determined to get that medal. And I think on top of the result, it was just the fact that it was a pretty hectic race since we all started with the elites. And so just to be able to like stay calm mentally and race my own race and leave everything that I had on the course, as well as being able to race up into the top 20 elite standing in World Championships, was a really huge confidence boost, and also just made me excited for next season. But it was just nice to know that, oh, like, I can do it and be up there in the top 20 with the best elites in the world as well. So it was a really special day for me.
You mentioned that you were combined with the elites. That wasn't originally supposed to happen, was it? The two fields, under 23 and elite, were combined at the last minute, I believe?
Yeah, we got a phone call at 9:30 the night before. There was supposed to be a thunderstorm that never happened, and yeah, so they merged us into one race. So it was a lot of people out there.
I also understand that during that race, you got a little bit rad. You did a trick. What was that trick, and how did that come about?
The day before the race, me and one of my best friends on the circuit, Tamara Wiedmann, she was also on Trek Vaudet, or Trek Future Racing, I should say. We'd made the agreement that if we came around together at this one jump, we would do a train. And I would do a T-bog and she would do a tire grab. And so I did a T-bog in the middle of the cross country race at Worlds. And I have to say, I think it gave me like, for sure, 10 extra watts for the rest of the race because it was so fun. So that was a pretty good moment.
A T-bog, like a toboggan, a seat grab, that's what you did?
Yeah, a seat grab.
Now, cross-country riders aren't usually known for their tricks, but tell me your relationship with tire grabs, seat grabs, and even no-handers.
Well, the no-handers are still work in progress, to be honest. I haven't been to as many dirt jumps as I would have liked this year, but I just really fell in love with, I mean, I love to ride my bike, and I found that jumping was a weakness of mine in the past, and I wanted to work on it. So I really got into going to the dirt jumps last year, and also Area 47 in Austria has a big airbag and just like general jumps. And so I got myself a dirt jumper, and like I just love to mess around on the pump track, on the dirt jumps, and all the guys on our team were doing like cool tricks. And I was like, oh, I can't be left out. Like, this looks so fun. I want to learn. And so in the winter and during the season, I spent a lot of time just messing around on my bike and getting more comfortable in the air. And I mean, it's just a fun thing to do, to be able to do some little tricks. It makes you smile.
You mentioned people on your team doing that. Your former teammate at Trek Future Racing, Ian Ackert, likes to throw no-handers. And you mentioned Tamara Wiedmann, who did the tire grab at Worlds. Is this a Trek Future thing? Getting a bit rad?
I think it's like it was a friend group thing, because my friend Zoe from Australia also really likes to do it, and we were all in the Innsbruck area. So I think it was just a group of us who wanted to have a good time.
I mentioned earlier that this is your first year as an elite rider. Tell me about that move, especially last year as you were navigating the final months of your under-23 season.
Honestly, 2025 was pretty uncertain right up until Worlds. I was chatting with a couple different teams, but I didn't really know what was going to happen. And I actually ended up signing with Scott Wednesday before the short track of Worlds. So that was pretty crazy. And I mean, took a lot of stress off the shoulders. But I think it was like, actually, I would say it was mostly just excitement, to be honest. Like, once I'd signed, it was like looking forward to my first year in elite and riding, I guess, living my dream, to be honest. Still, I pinch myself because it's like I'm here with the dream team in my first year elite, just trying to do my best at the thing that I love the most in the world. And I think just so beyond grateful to be able to say that my career is literally the thing that I love to do the most in the world, because I don't think a ton of people get to say that. So I think just last year, the perspective was just to make the most of every opportunity and every moment, no matter what. Because, you get, 9-10 World Cup races, which is not a ton of moments to be able to leave all your hard work out there. So just gotta, enjoy it all.
Did you approach Scott-SRAM, or did they contact you regarding the season ahead?
They ended up contacting me, actually, at the beginning of August. Yeah.
That's kind of flattering.
Yeah, it was super cool. Just, I call out of the blue, to be honest, and then it all happened like quite quickly. So it was really incredible.
And you've signed for 2 years?
Yes, 2 years.
Okay, next, I'm going to name some people who I believe have had an influence on your career. I'll say the name, and then if you could please tell us what their roles have been. The first name is Sam Whittingham.
Sam, yeah. Oh my gosh, cross, and like that was definitely a good time with naked bikes. I mean, he builds some beautiful, beautiful. I mean, it's more like art, to be honest. The titanium frames he builds, and went to my first cross worlds on those bikes, internationals, and they really helped me fall in love with the sport when I was younger and racing cyclocross.
So Sam, as you mentioned, is the founder and I guess chief builder at Naked Bikes. I remember him I'm pretty sure he was showing me your bike at Cross Nationals in 2018. And he was experimenting with like these whole ideas that are now so common in mountain biking and gravel bikes of the longer reach and the shorter stem length. So he was slightly ahead of the curve, I think, even then.
Yeah, it was cool. And it was just a great environment to be a part of. And me and Carter were on that team together. And it just was, a really supportive community.
And that's Carter Woods, who is racing cross country currently, and also from the same area as you.
The same town, yeah.
All right, next name, Catherine Pendrell.
Catherine's probably been my biggest inspiration in the sport for my whole life, to be honest. I think I grew up watching her racing, and I know I have a photo of me when I was like 12 with her at a cross race locally. And she's just always been the most kind and supportive person. And just like, I've never met anyone who is so passionate and loves the sport more. I was lucky enough to be a part of her development team as an under 17 rider. I started to get to know her, and she like really mentored me. And then when she was retiring from professional racing, she reached out about coaching and just wanted to let me know that she was starting coaching. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, for sure. And so for the last, I guess this is my third year now working with her as a coach. So yeah, it's pretty awesome to have her as a coach, and especially when, I mean, she's someone who I've looked up to for most of my like life, to be honest. So it's really cool.
Next name, Sina Frey.
Yeah. Also, now a friend and racer, always helped me when I was younger racing and took me to my first European race with her family. And we met when I was probably 15 and rode together for a couple weeks in Canada, and just an amazing human who helped me fall in love with racing and yeah, give me more of inspiration to get to the next level and show me also the way to do it as a professional. And now we're good friends on the circuit, and I'm excited to get to race with her this year, which will be crazy, but it'll be really fun.
Hey, producer Adam here. If you're enjoying this interview with Emilly Johnston, why not check out our episode with one of Johnston's big influences, Catherine Pendrell. That interview covered Pendrell's early career, her 2 world championship wins, and the development team she started that Johnston would join. Check out the show notes for a link to that interview with Catherine Pendrell. Now, back to Matt's conversation with Emilly Johnston.
Emilly, you're connected with your home community, yet you've lived in Switzerland, Austria, and now, well, you spent a lot of time in Girona recently. So your development as a rider has been in Europe, or largely in Europe, I should say. Why was the European route the right one for you?
I think to be able to maximize training and also just like the level of competition in Europe is the fields are a lot deeper. So for me, the racing quality is a bit higher, or it was. I think in North America, it's catching up, but it's just a lot of travel back and forth to and from home. And so even though I really love being at home, I also really love it in Europe. And every season I spend here, the more comfortable I get and the more I feel like I find my place. I was honestly just thinking about it the other day, and it feels like I really live two different, like I can live two different lives almost, like my European life where I like to live in cities and go do city things and just experience a different part of life and a different scene and community. And then I can go home and just be in nature completely and just, I don't want to be in a city and at home. I just want to be out in the woods, like riding or hiking or fishing or just like being in the mountains and in the countryside. Whereas in Europe, like the culture and the history and everything is just so incredible. So I can learn from both and get to experience a lot of different things. But I think from a career development perspective, just the racing and training quality, it's easier to get a higher level in Europe than it is to get it in North America without having to travel as much.
How would you characterize the state of Canadian women's cross country? I feel like over the last, 5 years, it's been evolving. What are your thoughts on the way women's cross country in Canada has been developing? Because you've been growing with it for many years. So what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think that for sure there's a new generation of women cyclists from Canada. Like, I think the level is really high and is going to continue to improve. Like, we have so many strong U23 riders, and this season there's me, Jen, Ella, Marin, Raf, and then both the Holmgrens, Isabella and Ava, all on pro teams. So that's like 7 women on full factory teams, which is a large amount considering it's like a lot of people. And I mean, I know a lot are still U23, but I think that all of us are really hungry and wanting to make that step and to be the best in the world. And so I think that women's cycling in Canada, like, I think it will continue to grow, and I think we're going to continue to be a presence on the world stage. And I think we'll all just push each other to be better and better.
Emilly, I want to switch to hobbies now. You were recently in Girona, and I know that one of your hobbies includes knitting. And I imagine balls of yarn must be flying off the shelves in Girona, because I also know that a bunch of riders on the road team Windspace, they knit. So is it ever hard to find yarn?
But I don't think so. Not for me yet. I'm not very good, to be honest. And my knitting projects take me like, I'm someone who would like to do like a million things at once. So I'll always have like 2 or 3 books on the go, 2 or 3 knitting projects on the go. I'll be watching like 2 or 3 different movies and TV series, and then I'll switch to writing for a couple weeks. And so I'm not really a stick to one project kind of person. So my knitting is like a bit of but when I get to it, I really love it. But no yarn shortages in Girona as far as I know.
Okay. So what have you knit?
I've knit a few hats at the moment, and I'm most of the way through a vest, though the vest is getting intimidating because I've never done it before, and so armholes are being shaped, and yeah, I'm trying to stay focused on that.
So you also mentioned writing. What kind of writing do you do? I
do a little bit of like everything. Like, it started off primarily as a journal for after I meditated, but I mean, once you get into like the long rides, there's just a lot of things you think about. So I just write down like a lot of different things at the moment, to be honest.
For sure. The mind does wander on long rides. I think it was Rob Britton who once said to me, he's like, I've solved the world's problems 7 times over on long bike rides, just the thoughts wherever they've gone. Oh, what is the instrument of choice? You don't, when you're writing, it's not on a computer or a phone, is it?
No, I like to use a fountain pen. For me, it's just like, I don't know, it's just very romantic. I feel like I have bought like a new, like, it's such a beautiful journal that I just bought from a small town in Italy that's just like leather on the outside, and it's like beautiful paper, and then to use a fountain pen and dip it in the ink, and you're just really immersed in writing, I feel like. So I love it, and it makes it like a form of meditation for me.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a shot of your writing on Instagram, and I have to say your penmanship looks pretty good.
Thank you. I mean, it's been every day for the last couple of years now, so it's gotten a bit better. It used to be really on an angle, but now I've straightened things out.
Okay, one more hobby that you've actually already mentioned is fishing. It's fly fishing that is your method of fishing, that your preferred method. Is that correct?
Yes, I love it, but it's more of a home thing, to be honest. I am excited because everyone on my new team, like Andre and Freshy, both are really big into fishing, but like spinner rods, and they're going to take me out in Switzerland and here at some point when the weather gets better. We already got to go in South Africa. So, I mean, just to be fishing is amazing. But yeah, at home, I love to go fly fishing on the rivers, and in the fall, it's something else.
Do you tie your own flies?
No, I'm not at that level. I'm like very beginner. Like, I can go out and not catch a fish and stand in the river for 6 hours and like, I mean, obviously you're like bummed, but like I'd be perfectly content just like chilling in the river for a while. But no, I'm quite bad, to be honest. I just really love to do it.
Literally chilling in the river.
Yeah.
Do you ever combine riding with fishing? Like, do you somehow strap your rod and hip waders to a bike?
No, I have not done that yet. I feel like that's something I'll probably do on like a pit bike or something in the off season now. But no, I have not. Like hiking, yes, I'll hike up, but not done the ride combo. That would be really fun.
All right, Emily, what is ahead for you this year in 2025?
For me, the main goal will be all the World Cups for sure. So starting in Brazil, and then I'll go to Pan Am's actually as well. Primarily World Cups is the focus, with a few Swiss Cups and of course nationals at home, which I'm really, really looking forward to having nationals on the island this season. It's going to be a blast.
That's right. It's in Victoria, like right down the street from your home.
Yeah, closest I've ever had nationals. So it's going to be good.
All right, Emily, thank you so much for your time and good luck with the season ahead.
Thank you.
And that's the episode. It's written and edited by me, Matthew Pioro. I had help from Jake Williams. Thank you, Jake.
You're so welcome.
Yeah. And Matt Hansen is always very helpful, even though he couldn't be here.
Is he?
His influence is everywhere.
Really?
It's everywhere.
That's too bad.
This episode of the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast is produced by Adam Killick, and he does all the music too. Special thanks also to Ontario Creates for its support. Jake, you actually have an Emilly Johnston anecdote back from when you were reporting a story on her colleague, her friend from the same neighborhood, Carter Woods.
Exactly. The Comox Valley is quite popular in mountain biking. And yeah, speaking with Sam Whittingham, who she speaks about in the interview, just recounting the days when she was, I think, barely a junior rider, organizing toonie races in Cumberland, getting together the community, just someone who from a very young age was a builder. So very exciting to see that she's now, at this stage and still seemingly very into the community of cycling, which is awesome. And I wanted to ask you, Matt, when was the last time you did a seat grab in a bike race?
Maybe it was a cyclocross remount that went totally sideways, and I was just trying to grab onto anything. Unintentional seat grab.
Unintentional seat grab. I love it.
I was probably in the air. The bike wasn't. It's a different kind of seat grab, I guess. Not as cool. Not as cool at all. All right. On that note, thanks again, Jake. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Ride safely, and we'll talk to you later.